is not it, I don't think.
Never.
Nuber, I kind of like.
Nuber. Yeah, nice. Well, that Mitch finally gets an upgrade as color caster. What do you think? How do you guys feel about that one?
Yep.
Is that good?
Absolutely.
That's pretty good.
Take it.
I tried to give you my best Matt Mr. X impression. I got my best white t-shirt.
Yeah, one kill.
And I did.
You have to wear a hoodie.
And I didn't iron it.
Details.
This is method acting from you, Rose. Hopefully you have more to say than Matt does in an average match. But it's great to be here with you, of course, Rose. This is a head-to-head where we're pretty frightened for the Gladiators here, right? The last couple of weeks have been pretty bumpy. This team has looked a little unconvincing in even their strongest compositions. And they're going up against the Florida Mayhem, who, yeah, sure, they've had some close affairs. Even that Valiant game was really back and forth. But we definitely have to stand with the desk in our expectations here, right?
I am absolutely siding with the Florida Mayhem winning this matchup here. They have the record to prove it, but also the skill to be able to back that up. They have one of the best dives in the entire league right now, and I think it's going to be really tough for the Gladiators to be able to contend against that, especially when their best look that they have is the Ramatra Brawl.
Right, I mean, and that's what the desk was kind of talking about. They're saying they're expecting to see a ton of mirror comps here. I think on a map like Oasis, right, especially some of these stages, there's probably some, no pun intended, merit to that. We probably will see like a fair bit of this Ramatra play. But we saw a ton of dive from Florida last week, outside of a little bit of sussy Junker Queen play from someone, and Merit played a ton of Sombra. So we're obviously flashing his Hanzo stats and getting excited about those, but Florida are also one of the few teams when they play Brawl, they stick Merit on that Reaper. They don't really normally play May, right? Seeing Checkmate on the May might be a surprise to us. I think last week, just Tracer for Checkmate.
Yeah, that is a little bit of a surprise to see whether or not Checkmate's going to actually come out here with the May, because that really is one of the best DPS heroes. You can pair up with the Ramatra, you get the slow from the May, Icicles, as well as just being able to get in there and get up close and personal with the tank on the other side. And it looks like it's going to stick here for Checkmate as they come out of the gates.
So the Reaper for Merit definitely gives us the feeling they want to put as much pressure on Dante as possible. The Mayhem will be outranged by Kevster, but it's all about taking this high ground, and my goodness, they bustle their way up there. They definitely have control here. The Reaper forcing the Gladiators now back onto the other side of the map.
I mean, Dante didn't even stand a chance there on the high ground. Completely got bullied away as soon as he saw Merit there with the Reaper.
Maywall thrown up here. Merit under a little bit of pressure, though. It's Yaki encroaching in his general direction, and someone needs to be topped up. This is Moira Lucio, by the way. No Baptiste looks here for the Florida Mayhem, so that burst healing in a pinch is going to be a little bit hard to come by. So that's why, again, the Mayhem getting pushed off. Someone maybe too low to hang around on the point. Okay, Checkmate's able to open up here. Kevster removed. That good opener now, and the Sojourn was the biggest threat to someone like Merit. Now he can start to run a little bit more wild. Funny Astro gets caught, and this should be the Gladiators collapsing pretty quickly.
Right, the Gladiators going down here. Checkmate just completely popping off. May have needed a little bit of that support coming through from RuPaul's Coalescence, but it ended up working in spades. Checkmate is already going to have that Blizzard online by the time the Gladiators come back. Merit, gonna get the Death Blossom online. Maybe that'll be another DPS ult that you can throw into the mix, but someone's really trailing behind here, trying to keep up pace with Dante's Annihilation.
We had a Coalescence as well on that last fight. RuPaul just opening up. Yeah, the extra sustain for Dante maybe makes a pretty big difference in terms of being able to stay in the front line and throw some of these hooks here. It's going to be an Annihilation already from Dante. Yaki trying to push up here. And Amp Matrix also deployed by Lastro, but is going to get taken down by Checkmate. And Merit coming around the backside again gets rid of the Sojourn. So that long-range pressure mitigated once more. The Maywall for Merit. I hope it didn't prevent him from giving the health pack. That could have gone either way. But Dante gets brought down by the tank killer in the front line. Yaki, though, goes to work on someone. Merit frozen up by the Blizzard here. The Mayhem falling behind in percentage now, but Yaki's going to face the music.
Yaki is going to have to be able to put something down here, especially when Trong's going to be going in with the sound barrier.
All right, here it is. It's going to be the Death Blossom from Merit trying to push back up, gets rid of Yaki. The Immortality Field from Lastro eventually is going to be taken down. RuPaul already has another Coalescence developed and ready to go for the next fight.
That's going to be huge, especially when you're taking a look at being able to sustain through some of the frontline pressure coming in from Dante and Yaki, but it's definitely not going to be enough if you're looking at Kevster there with the overclock ready to go. That's something that Kevster can use at range, and Coalescence just might not be able to hit him and keep him at bay.
All right, someone wants to push up here. With this Annihilation, Coalescence also going to help keep him topped up. This is the apex of the healing output from the Mayhem's composition. And it's pretty deterministic from that point. As soon as someone pops the ultimate, we're going to start to run over the Gladiators. Dante stood his ground for a time, but the Mayhem now have a chance to extend their lead. They've spent a lot of those big ultimates in that fight to do so, though.
They did, but this is where you can start to see a lot of the differences at play here between the DPS choices as well as the healer choices here. As Florida Mayhem does have that brawl to be able to go up so much closer to the Gladiators. Kevster just didn't get the space to be able to use the overclock. On top of that, Checkmate has the May wall to be able to shut off all of that long-range damage. And Florida Mayhem, they're playing around this architecture so well to be able to stave off that.
Oh my goodness. All right, well, someone really tries to bustle through the front line and get purchase on a target. Unfortunately, the same happens from Dante. He rushes into the Mayhem setup. It's a quick flip back in the favor of the Gladiators, and they don't have to use this Annihilation in order to do so.
I love how I just talk up the Florida Mayhem and how lovely their brawl is, and then all of a sudden, it just gets folded over by Yaki's Blizzard. I love that for me. But you know what? The Gladiators, they still have a lot of tools to work with. You talked about the Annihilation there, and I think that this Lastro amplification matrix can also really help them here on the high ground. You can just pop that down, and then Kevster's got free reign.
Lastro in position here, wants to stay away from the rest of his team. The Maywall going to make it hard for the Mayhem to follow someone out of the doorway here. Kevster hopes to make use of the Amp Matrix. Florida only need the one fight win to flip back in and probably take the round, but they're going up against the sound barrier and that Annihilation that Dante has been clutching onto. They're clearly waiting on a timing here. Getting the high ground is very important for Florida, so they wait out the Ramacha AoE. Here they go, but it's going to be the Annihilation pretty much straight away. Sound barrier also popped by Funny Astro. Coalescence from RuPaul has to go in the right direction, and so far it's been enough to keep the Mayhem standing. Dante wants to push towards Merit's position, but he's going to get a stay of execution as Dante needs to attend to the point. Checkmate explodes into a red mist as Dante fights it with his left hooks, and that is a beautiful finish for the Ramacha. 3 kills for Dante. And looks like finally Kevster gets to chime in a meaningful manner. The overclock secures a round for the Glads.
Looking really close there with the Florida Mayhem being able to take a little bit of a lead over the Gladiators, but then this is kind of what we were hoping to see from the Gladiators. If they want to have a chance in this matchup, it's going to be leaning into these maps where they can play the Ramatra Brawl. And as we head over to University, this is another one of those maps that we can really see Dante and Yaki shine. I wonder if this means that we're going to see some change-ups from the Florida Mayhem, because while the Reaper and the Moira seemed to work out for them for the short term, they were really lacking the ability to keep up with the Gladiators' ultimate charge.
Yeah, I mean, I want to put that under the microscope a little bit more quickly here. What do you think about the Moira in terms of healing output and just sustain against the Baptiste? It seems like harder for someone to stay in the middle of the fight.
I think it's really tough because you have to have RuPaul right next to you, and if he gets forced to fade away, then yeah, you don't have that healing available to you anymore. So we'll see how that works out here.
A bit more robust of a composition for the Gladiators so far, and it's carried over into the second map here. It is devastation on the high ground, and the Mayhem are on the wrong side of it here. Kevster being able to line up Merit has been crucial. We saw Merit take pretty long flank routes in that first round, actually, to try and get a 1v1 versus Kevster, but no opportunity to do so here. And the Mayhem, at least in terms of composition, starting to find some difficulty getting a foothold.
I think the Gladiators just got smart to their game plan. Like you mentioned, Kevster has to be on the lookout now for Merit trying to wrap around, and Florida just simply don't have enough time to be able to try to set that back up. Kevster has full real estate at the high ground right now, and Florida Mayhem are going to be a world of hurt.
Yaki giving himself a little bit of time alone there. See someone getting pressured. RuPaul, yeah, again, look how close he's got to be. He's already traded here, and he could be in further danger as Yaki tries to run him down. The RuPaul's going to give him the old slurp at there. It's going to be a 1-for-1 trade, and with both Mays out of the picture here, it's time for Kevster to step up. Merit sees Kevster in the distance, but can't push in that direction and gets punished at long range by the Sojourn, and Dante just adds his ultimate to the mix. It's a convincing fight win for Los Angeles again.
And that's the second time we've seen Dante be able to beat someone to the punch with the Annihilation. That happened in the first round as well, and this is exactly what we mean, where Gladiators are just kind of getting on a roll and starting to run away with things. The big thing that Florida Mayhem have coming up for them is they have another Coalescence. RuPaul being able to throw that in might give someone some staying power to be able to get the Annihilation zone.
There's the call. Looks like more aggressive than anything else for the time being here. I think RuPaul had to reposition midway through the fight. He brings Kevster down, but we have a second support ultimate added to the mix here. Once more, the Mayhem have to dig deep and spend to win the fight.
That was the Coalescence, and then the Sound Barrier when the Coalescence wasn't enough after he did have to fade away. That's a lot to have to invest here. At the very least, they were able to get 2 of those high key ultimates out of the Gladiators' pockets as well. So the Amplification Matrix and the Overclock not there anymore. But you're looking at just the Sound Barrier online for Funny Astro, and he's been so clean with these, getting 3 or 4 members at a time.
Checkmate's been on the Sombra here, something we didn't really get to mention, approaching on that next EMP, or the first one rather, but again, this fight's over pretty quickly, I dare say. Funny Astro finding the Sound Barrier, and Kevster punctuating the points with another cleanup on Merit, who's really struggling to overcome his range limitations, I think, against Kevster's Sojourn. It's a tough matchup in any case, made even worse by the fact that Kevster is your opposite number in that regard.
I would really like to see a bit of a compositional switch up here beyond just the Sombra, but I understand why Florida Mayhem are trying to rely on that right now, just to be able to shut off some of these cooldowns. I mean, if you can get the ice block out of Yaki, or maybe even try to pressure down Dante a little bit here, the EMP could also be a great way for Florida Mayhem to get back into this one.
Okay, Merit, Sans ultimate able to take Yaki down at the start of the fight. I think that gives Checkmate pause for thought here. Does he have to use an EMP now? He may be forced to. Someone gets taken down, it's going to be a Death Blossom instead, but Funny Astro is going to shut Merit down mid-breakdance. Dante's going to be forced away by another RuPaul Coalescence, and Florida get to hold onto the EMP. Not a perfect fight for them, maybe hoping not to have to spend another Col, but hey, they get what they came for.
I think the EMP is way more valuable than the Coalescence. RuPaul has been able to build up to those pretty speedy, and the EMP gives Florida Mayhem a buying chance to try to get into another round of ultimates here.
EMP, it's a nice one, catches onto 3, both backliners, but there's enough time here for Lastro to throw that Immortality field down. Not so lucky for Yaki as Merit descends upon his position, finds yet another kill in the form of Lastro here. 4 versus 3 situation, and Merit's going to be teleporting back to the point now. Kevster is going to be an issue in the distance, and Dante's causing problems for Checkmate. The Sombra is down for Florida now, and a Sound Barrier is in place for Funny Astro. It's Kevster from the high ground with the RKO. Chorong, no idea what hit him, and the Glads are back in control. Maybe a Sound Barrier on the line for the Florida Mayhem, but that's all they're going to have to work with. It's a matter of cleaning off the point now. Dante doesn't want to linger too long in the sights of Merit here, forced to give a little bit of ground as someone blocks. Trying to touch the point. Yes, it's going to be a play for RuPaul. The Sound Barrier comes down for Choron. It's on for the young and old now. The Florida Mayhem are fighting to stay in this map. Merit will play around that key choke, but the Annihilation's going to be an issue. Yaki on the Tracer, no less. Reliving the glory days. Takes RuPaul down. Death Blossom attempt there for Merit. Comes up with very little. It's someone's, I guess someone's Annihilation. Really big difference maker here is it's just Yaki. The Baptiste, but Lastro was crucial there for the Gladiators to stay in the fight. Choron's going to get some help here, but it's a very low health Checkmate. That's all the Mayhem had left, and it's not going to be enough. The Gladiators take away the map 1, winning out in the brawl.
Even Yaki coming back on the Tracer as well, just to get a little bit of cleanup crew down there onto Florida, was definitely a sight to behold. But looked like that brawl, that up close and personal style that Florida Mayhem were trying to go for, backfired. They were always up in line, lined up, ready to go for Kevster to try to knock him down.
I want the Baptiste from RuPaul. I feel like
Same.
That would have been great to see. Immortality feels so crucial for giving someone that staying power in the front line. It's kind of something we were harping on so much, is that Dante is just able to play much more aggressively here, and Florida really losing in like these upfront brawls, unless there's like a Coalescence run, which is great, but RuPaul can't have it every fight.
No, he had it like every other, if we want to try to give him credit for how quickly he was being able to build those up. But you're absolutely right. I mean, look at how far back Kevster is able to play too. With Dante having so much sustain behind him, he's able to create so much space for Kevster to operate in, and he absolutely capitalized on that.
This is an interesting one though. The Florida Mayhem might want to try and force dive compositions here. Their map choice will be Hollywood. So stick around for that one, ladies and gentlemen. The Florida Mayhem start a little behind the 8 ball and hope to get back into the game in this next map.
Fighting Astro. That is the delay tactics widely dealt
In a 4v5, oh, not quite so much anymore. Kevster dishing out the damage.
This is giving me vibes of Florida against the Atlanta Rain.
What?
That is dirty. A rough return here, just kind of getting bullied. That was a good shot.
Wave hello, maybe goodbye to the rest of your team, Decay, because Lastro's on the field. Nano Zen just to keep him alive.
rolling, trying to keep everybody alive. And Hydron, oh boy, punched into oncoming traffic. Dante shuts him down.
We anticipated that the brawl compositions for the Gladiators would be their best look, and they prove us right, putting a lot of pressure down, especially on the front line of the Florida Mayhem. That last map, someone did not look like himself playing that Ramatra. There was not a strong showing for Florida here. They get blown out of Oasis. Now, Rose, we're off to Hollywood. Chance to maybe see some different compositions from these two.
Well, we saw a couple of swaps come into the roster here on the LA Gladiators side. It's going to be Babel in for Funny Astro and Kai also making an appearance, which makes a lot of sense just knowing that we are going over to a hybrid map with a lot of long straightaways for both of these players to really try to show us what they've got. But for Florida, this is their map pick, and we see a lot of dive on Hollywood.
Yeah, no doubt about it. There are definitely, I guess, some teams have tried to make brawl compositions work, especially on the first point, but it's often required like some serious maneuvering in the position. We see attacking teams like wrap around, try and take the cafe away from defenders, using sort of speed boost and Ramatra getting in there. Eventually, though, you have to bend the knee just to the topography of the map and know you need to navigate that with some verticality. Winston required in those cases. So I'm curious to see what we get from the Florida Mayhem, right? Usually this Winston comp means that Merit is on the Sombra. We've seen a little bit of Ash from Merit in the past. It might be a factor on defenses. That's where Kai's headed to start with.
We see a lot of Ash come out on this particular map just because of how good this Dynamite can really be for any entry point that the Florida Mayhem are going to try to go through. And even if Kai gets backed into a corner, he can use the coach gun to be able to get away. And so that's a great escape mechanism to get off of the high ground, try to reposition yourself to be able to deal with the dive or whatever is going to be coming your way. But it looks like Florida Mayhem here coming out of the gates. It is going to be a dive composition, but it's going to be the Genji and Reaper.
Oh, this is all in from the Florida Mayhem.
Okay.
They need Genji resets to be able to sort of execute their game plan here. It feels like this is, it's all or nothing for the Florida Mayhem setup here. We're going to mirror on the Reaper, which is going to be fascinating to see how that plays out. Also the Kiriko for RuPaul here. And again, Bubble comes in, of course, with that Ana, but we're already off to the races here with the dive from the Florida Mayhem. Merit's going to be put to sleep pretty quickly. Nice response from Bubble, but not enough to peel the rest of the Mayhem off him. Chorong coming out with kill credit there. Eventually, Kai can get going in this fight, finding a second kill here. And although it's a bit brutal, the Gladiators are able to push the Mayhem away.
That's the power of the Dynamite right there. Even if it's just going to be dot damage, it's still going to be an area of effect that the Florida Mayhem are all going to have to take into consideration. And that dive did not work out the way that they would have wanted it to. I don't know if you can contend with a Brigitte and that extra AoE damage in a small room. They're going to have to find another approach to this one, and that's why you see them wrapping around the backside.
Or doing the exact same thing again, as sometimes the definition of madness dictates. This time, though, they find Kai first. That might be the linchpin with this particular setup. Bubble doesn't look like he's going to be too far away either. They managed to corral the supports into that security room, and then they bring them down. Kessler a thorn in the side late in the fight, but this time, the dive is executed to perfection.
Well, you called out the big difference there. It was Kai that went down first, and if you take out that main source of damage for the team, then the rest of that defense is going to fall apart. So Florida Mayhem are going to get this payload unlocked, and we're also going to see a couple of pretty key ultimates coming online here for Florida. RuPaul's actually going to go ahead and switch off to the Ana, and so we're actually going to see a bit of a compositional change, as Merit's also going to come out on the Sombra too. So a little bit of a way to maybe start enabling the dive, and I think once you see Checkmate use his blade, we might even see a switch over to the Tracer as well.
Perhaps Merit doesn't feel like playing a hero that loudly announces his intention to flank to this high ground. Still have a blade here to Checkmate. Obviously, Lastro building up and running in that previous fight. The Gladiators getting a lot of those ultimates alive, but here comes the naked blade for Checkmate. He's found himself two, and both the key targets, both of the individuals with your high priority, I think, if you're the Florida Mayhem. The primal rage from Dante comes too late in the day to disrupt that dive attempt. And he's going to have to walk home with his tail between his legs, rather.
Do they have tails?
I don't think so. And if they do, maybe they use it like a belt, like safe.
Well, I guess sometimes.
Like, you know,
Yeah, true.
maybe like wrapped around it, just get it out of the way. It's a real weak point in a fight. Just tug on it. Yeah, you probably don't want that. It's really about function over form, I think. Chorong struggling there. Exactly, Chorong not having a great time there. Kevster able to get a lot of more work done in this fight. Florida, again, I feel like if they can't stick to their first target in the way they want to, it's very, very hard to like make a second sort of dive or like a second wave midway through these fights.
I think what's interesting is that Checkmate is sticking on the Genji. This is not necessarily a look that we've seen from the Florida Mayhem in these past few weeks. It really has been more of the Sombra, and there's the Tracer. I think also recognizing that the Genji just isn't paying off the way you would want it to. Gladiators are playing far too spread apart for that Genji to be able to get the resets that it needs to, and the Blade without the support from the Nano is really not something that it has been great.
Merit, please. Oh, goodness. Well, Merit gets caught out there. Might have been an issue with the translocator, Rose. I'm not sure, but Kai just taking hot shots down. It was a low ground, and he knew when that someone would reappear. Now, the Gladiators settling into this defense here. Well, I guess you switch off the Genji, right? Something you highlighted for Checkmate, but Tracer doesn't give you the same level of access to that high ground, so you know, there's still a lot of finagling that has to be done to get all of Florida's pieces in position here.
I think they're also seeing the issue that Florida Mayhem has put themselves into, which is that they're kind of off balance with the rotation that they like to use for their ultimates. At this point, look at someone as kind of low, has to go in with the Nano here to be able to bully people off his high ground.
Merit was at least able to get there, right? He eventually has to pull the plug, though. Someone doesn't want to be on his side of the map with a Nano boost. RuPaul able to bring Kevster down, though, via some mechanism. Definitely some assistance there from Chorong. And now it looks like we're going to go again. The Mayhem want to regroup with a hit with the Biotic Grenade. This could be a problem for RuPaul as Dante comes in. Splits him in two. Dante now can return back to the rest of his team, and if he gets topped up, you're laughing.
Oh no! I think he's laughing. I think he's laughing because Lastro's right there, ready with some packs.
Kai though gets flanked, so they are able to find that Ash. Looks like a hack first from Merit, or the EMP rather. Find the key target once more. Now the Gladiators are forced to fight on even footing in terms of their positioning. Great pulse bomb there onto Lastro, and Checkmate finds Bubble, brings him down. Dante still trying to deal with RuPaul, but much of his team already taken to task. 1 minute, 10 seconds left in the round, though. This card is probably going to be another big fight here, but the Gladiators have no ultimates. At least someone has some disruption available.
You see Kai actually switch over to the Hanzo, maybe try to make sure that he can play a little bit from range. You do need some card presence to be able to come in for the defense here, but that also sets up Kai to be able to look forward to point 3 if he has to. But I think the Gladiators here, they are really just trying to make sure that they can contend on the low ground, and that... Maybe don't go over there.
Yeah, someone doing a great job, I guess, of just making it very clear which exit the Gladiators have to make use of to try and get back out in the fight. This is 3 players on cart right now, so buys a lot of space here. The Gladiators probably hoping to generate some kind of ultimate in that interlude, but they're so far away from it. Kevs are the only one who's going to be able to make use of that pulse bomb here, and this primal range is going to make, I mean, the cut inaccessible to the Gladiators. That was a very awkward, drawn-out fight for the Glads.
I didn't like the way that the Gladiators approached that one. I think you're right. Maybe hoping that Kevster would get that pulse bomb online, stick it onto RuPaul or Chorong, and then be able to try to clean up the rest of that when they knew that the time was starting to run out. But at this point, Florida Mayhem have captured the 2nd point. They're getting into 3rd. They only have 1 minute and 20 seconds, but that's still a lot for them to work with, knowing that Merit's going to have an EMP online. This is absolutely a place that Florida Mayhem could snowball to finish the map.
Merit had to pull out there, but the rest of his team weren't necessarily in position to capitalize on an EMP. He'll have to walk up with this one. He's using an escape translocator as opposed to a engage one. That health pack is hacked, by the way. Very critical point. Someone going to hope to make as much use of that as possible. Merit looks like he's in position now. Would love to catch Kai here. Pressure that Hanzo down as quickly as possible. Here it is. Okay, 3 players caught with that Dante, though, the key target. He is brought down immediately after the EMP connects. Kai and Kepsi can only really jockey back now as that cart continues to push. There was under a minute left for the Florida Mayhem to get this second checkpoint, and now they're starting to build a real head of steam. Someone might be affected by the Glider Grenade here, but he has a ton of health to use as a buffer, and he wants to stay as close to the spawn of the Gladiators as possible. House arrest seems to be the order of the day, but Dante's managed to slip through the net here, contesting the card as Checkmate and Merit need to double back and deal with the Winston dive in their backline.
With that though, the Dragons are actually going to split up the Florida Mayhem's attack, and that might mean that they don't have enough members here to be able to deal with the Gladiators' defense. 10 seconds left.
Yeah, that dive from Dante, right? The disruption, pretty key, especially in lieu of, you know, a surplus of teammates for the Gladiators. Many were still coming back off spawn, so this is it. Last fight now for the Florida Mayhem to try and get the map done. Glider Grenade affecting both DPS players, but they shrug it off. It's going to be RuPaul a little bit low. Looks like he gets himself a health pack, but someone needs more than just a pack. He dies into his backline, but who's going to step up to touch now? No one for the Florida Mayhem, except for maybe Checkmate can step forward here. Merit trying to dodge Kai. He's really rolling the dice, standing in front of a Hanzo that way, but Dante's got rid of Chorong already. Kai uncontested. Someone doesn't have the bend to go up there and deal with the Hanzo. The stick from Checkmate is good, but there's not enough here for the Mayhem now. Merit gets Nano, has an EMP as well, but it's a 1 versus 4, and that just ain't gonna be enough. The Florida Mayhem forced to concede just before the end of the map.
That's still a pretty good push here for the Florida Mayhem, especially given how much trouble they were having at the very beginning of this map. They struggled to figure out what composition they wanted to run. They were at least able to break apart that first point, but that second was such a slog there.
Yeah, they really had to spend a lot of time trying to get access to that high ground. The Ash pick caused the Mayhem problems for quite some time. Switching off the Reaper, the Genji, which, hey, gave them good results on that first point, but it was a little bit too telegraphed, perhaps, for how far back the Glads were able to play on defense. Kevston 9-2, pretty solid round. Kai with 8 final blows and 5 deaths here. RuPaul, oddly enough, with 6 final blows himself, really trying to put some pressure down on that high ground while still getting involved in the healing.
You saw just how influential RuPaul has really been for some of these dives. I mean, when you saw Mara hit the EMP and Dante got deleted, that was because RuPaul threw a Bionade in there and then just immediate follow-up from the rest of the team. But even take a look at some of the survivability that RuPaul has really had, just being able to kind of kite away from some of that damage, but also you can see in this clip too just how much Florida Mayhem struggled with the pressure that the Gladiators were putting on them.
I love that from Dante, spotting out that translocator, putting Merit in a forward position. Someone who has had some really solid Sombra performances here, someone we maybe didn't expect to pick up that role, given how strong they are, of course, on that hit scan, but when Checkmate's on the Tracer, you ask no questions. Early Bionade there from RuPaul, of course, as is customary. And it is going to be the Hanzo opener for the Gladiators here, and the Mayhem do want to play this dive defense. Tricky to navigate here with the Sombra and Tracer. Let's see how the Glads start to tease some of these Mayhem players out of position.
I really like the Hanzo choice on the attack. I think that sets up Kai really well to be able to wall climb and make use of the verticality as well. And you don't necessarily have the same defensive capabilities of the Ash and Coach Gun here, but oh, Kai's got to be careful. This is also great Winston bait.
Oof, I mean, yeah.
Unless
who's the bait? Yeah, who's the bait is my question. I mean, someone gets turned into a pincushion there, already badly designed voodoo doll. Merit able to deal with Dante, so both takes it out. Now we have a bit of a weird fight. The Glads have boots on the ground, so to speak, and the Mayhem playing from this high ground for the most part. Checkmate's still here on that Tracer, and here comes Merit back on the Sombra now. So it looks like the Glads are herded off the point as they see someone return to the fray here. No time for a reset, though, where someone just goes upstairs, and with 2 supports alive, the Glads still can't keep Kai in the fight. Looks like a Bionade secured that.
It's going to be one of the another ways that we're going to end up seeing a big impact here from RuPaul, and I feel like that was like such a setup for success. I really was hoping that the Gladiators are going to be able to capture another piece of that objective, but someone came back so fast. Merit as well, just being able to play Nuisance in the backline. It's going to be a little bit more difficult for Gladiators to get into a position here. So you have to see how they approach this next one. I mean, they're playing some pretty strong anti-dive. They really are waiting for someone to jump in first. And they have the Brigida in their back pocket.
Jurong Legendary flipping out a deal with dive comps on this. Very big part of the old Toronto's strategy on anti-dive comps. Diving harassed on the high ground, also hacked here. A lot of attention for the Hanzo, as you'd expect. But he's going to drop down to safety and get topped up pretty quickly. Checkmate being pretty vicious about his route here to stick the pulse bomb. He does not connect on Kai, and he wants to hang around for a little bit longer. The EMP comes in, and Merit's able to finish the job on Lastro here, and Chorong looking like a raid boss right now. Dante put to sleep, and even Chorong, strong as he is, waits a little while before getting the Winston roused. That opens up a checkmate to push him to the back line. Getting Dante out of the picture during that primal, that's a big difference maker for the defenders, and they're holding still a minute 34 in the round.
Florida Mayhem have been doing such a good job of recognizing when they can give up a little bit of the point to be able to win the long game, which is going to be a full hold of the Gladiators here. They're off to a pretty good start, but I feel like this is where you could start to see some things go awry. Kai with the Dragon Strike has been really good at being able to throw those in to split up the Florida Mayhem, and that may be enough of a corral for Dante to be able to draw the first punch.
Here it comes. Like you mentioned there. Oh, the Dragon Strike. Rupal has sixth sense about it, perhaps, as he's able to back away. Checkmate looks like they weren't nearly as lucky, so that flexibility goes begging for the Florida Mayhem. Still, someone dives in with the combination of merit. They're able to pick Kai out of the mixture. Chorong is missing though. Lastro also has the rally to rely on for the time being. They're giving someone an arm's length. It seems to be the priority right now. That Primal Rage expires without someone really being able to do too much more here. So the Gladiators will be able to continue capturing here. And already being at 2/3, it's going to be a slim margin for the Mayhem to contest. Eventually, they've got to give it up.
Yeah, you don't go back in there. I mean, someone was already so low. You're waiting for RuPaul to be able to come back in and give you the rest of that healing, or at least be able to get that overhealth back up and generated. And Merritt's also still hurt. You know, he had to translocate away instead of being able to help contest the point. But you got a lot of time out of the time bank here. And now Florida Mayhem are going to take that extra time to be able to set up on the high ground. This was the point that gave them a lot of trouble in their first attack round. And so they're hoping to do the same, especially knowing that Merritt's got the CMP ready to go. And he's really looking after that backline, or maybe even just trying to take Dante down.
Again, this defensive dive really only works if you can secure that first kill. Get in there on the dive and be successful. And Merritt has been a huge part of it. Again, that's the formula for success. EMP or hack combined with someone. Get rid of Kai at the start of the fight. This one very one-sided here, and only the EMP has to be expended.
It's a really great economy here for the Florida Mayhem. When you look at Checkmate also, just with the pulse bomb ready to go, should be able to try to get into the back line and at least play a bit of a distraction here to allow someone to be able to operate in the front line alongside a hack from Merritt. But Gladiators here, they're starting to walk away with some ultimate charge too, and I'm really looking at Dante being able to have that sustain, whether it's going to be from the nano boost from Babel or even with the primal rage that he has online, to be able to engage this next fight.
I'd like to see the Glads dive first, but that's just not been the case. Again, the initiative constantly taken by Florida. Okay, so big old arrow in the face there, but unperturbed as Merritt finishes the job on Kai again. The win condition really well fleshed out by this point. Taking Hanzo out is key, but that is a very sturdy backline that someone was eyeing off. And in the time bought, I guess, by the Gladiators, Kevster was able to strike by 2 kills.
That cap? No. Oh, please. Okay.
That one little too on the nose, Dante, sorry.
Oh, come on. I mean, you gotta try, right?
Wait a minute.
Still took out
Wait a minute.
No way. Is this Big Brain? This is Giga Brain.
That's a key kill. I guess RuPaul's positioning is... I guess he's not aware, I guess, of how close that Dante is, so he's lingering on low health. Dante just sees an easy target to snap up there, and all of a sudden the Florida Mayhem are forced to play out from their spawn here. A backup attempt normally is just like one player sheepishly returning to the rest of his team. But the Glads have been able to transfer from Dante backcapping into a fight held deep in enemy territory now. Look how far the card has still been pushing. And the Primal Rage from Dante here, I guess, fulfills the same purpose as someone on the other side of the map here, pressuring into that back corner. Kai finding Chorong, absolutely massive. That card likely to keep moving, but Dante needs a little bit of medical attention. Back to jail. Open lock RuPaul in. EMP did come out. Merritt just able to clip Dante around the corner here. The Gladiators, though, swarming over the cart. Someone trying to work it from the outside, but it's too late. Charles the Knight has been invoked. Oh, and the Glads are going to get a time extension.
This has to be a whole new... This isn't just a C9, right? Like, do we include the back cap in this as something to level up the C9? I don't think I've ever seen something like this before work out this way.
The timing, I suppose, worked quite well because normally the back cap's happening like at the end of a lost fight. You know, it's like one player while the rest of your team's getting decimated. But Dante sort of transitioned into killing RuPaul, and then the rest of the Gladiators rock up. So all of a sudden it goes, yeah, from a back cap into like a significant cart push and a full-strength team fight for the Glads. I mean, again, what I like about the Mayhem here is that they are always the first to start the fight, so they're taking the initiative on the defense, but they're losing a lot of ground.
Especially now, too, Really looking at someone trying to make a big difference here, especially having the Primal Rage online.
Another big pulse from Kevster though. That's RuPaul out of the picture here. The Gladiators are far from done. If you can catch RuPaul here, then you're in good shape. Someone able to do that. Getting rid of the Ana is crucial. The Mayhem for a time without any supports though. No concern for someone, of course. That Primal Rage gives him all the durability he requires. He wants to try and cut Lastro off the rest of his team, but Kevster's found yet another kill, a crucial one on the Tracer, so the Glads can keep pushing. The map completion is on the table.
Babel was hard pocketing Lastro as someone was trying to juggle them away from the rest of the team with the rally. And that's why the Gladiators are still up and alive. And even with the close spawns here from the Florida Mayhem, I don't know if this is going to be enough. So there's Checkmate going. From the top
for a kill. He's hungry. He wants it. The stick, not so good. Lastro able to hop skip jump away from him, but Kevster found a kill on someone. This is looking like it's going from bad to worse for the Florida Mayhem. Chorong's brought down. Lastro finds the shield bash and the Gladiators. I mean, it's bloody and brutal, but they win out a second map here. This time, though, on the dive comp, the one that's drawn all the questions, all the scrutiny. They outsmart the Mayhem and beat them at their own game. They go up 2-0 Rose in this series.
This is absolutely unexpected. I mean, you heard the desk talk about it. We were talking about it a little bit. The best look that the Florida Mayhem have shown us this entire split has been the dive. And they just got beaten at their own game. This is looking mighty scary for the Florida Mayhem, not the other way around.
And the Glad's obviously playing like a variation that doesn't feature Sombra, right? So yeah, they have less disruption for someone, for example, or quite often like a Brig in the backline, but Kevster's getting a lot done on this Tracer. Like, great pulse bomb stick rate's been absolutely up there. And I've got to say, like, high on the Hanzo, they're trying to dive in really hard, but they found very little success. Florida Rose is back to the drawing board for the Mayhem. They're going to have to figure this out, otherwise they're heading for a one-way ticket to the lower bracket. The Gladiators make it 2 in a row to stick around, fam. Let's see what the Mayhem have in their back pocket map-wise to get them out of this sticky situation. Well, the Florida Mayhem start by executing some impressive defensive dive play on Hollywood. They just overdose on that silly sauce. The card gets away from them all of a sudden. They're thrust into chaos. And it's the Gladiators that capitalize, going up now 2-0 in the series. Rose, the Mayhem had better have a silver bullet. It's time to deploy that.
Maybe that's going to be something that we see on Junkertown. That's going to be our next map in this series, and this is another map that Florida Mayhem has chosen. I wonder what the thought process is here, though, because when I think about Junkertown and I think about who might have the upper hand here, I'm giving it to the Gladiators more often than not. You look at how Kai has been performing on the Hanzo, there's no subs, so he's going to be staying in, and Junkertown has always been a sniper map. That feels like it's just setting up Kai for success.
So far we've seen Florida play a variation on the Brawl composition, right? In that first map. We know how that goes, doesn't really work out. See them coming in playing a dive comp that sees Merit playing in more of a utility role on that Sombra. He has a really solid map in general, but Checkmate is utterly eclipsed by Kevster's impact, right? Really great pressure on the back line. Like we're talking the break, Lastro and Bubble combining really expertly to make sure that the dive target for the Gladiators is constantly kept topped up. D.Va on defense here from the Gladiators, quite a conservative approach to this map. Obviously, Dante wants to split offense and defense as much as possible and likely set Kovacs Kai up to do some work.
Yeah, you've got Kai on the Widowmaker that's going to be getting set up here, but you also have Lastro on the Kiriko. That's a really cool pick to be able to see come out here from the Gladiators composition. And so I see Dante, yes, being able to have the defense matrix. That's going to be a really nice way to be able to help support your team for opposing snipers as we see Merit start to come out here with the Widowmaker. But also, you're able to go just chase down targets with the D.Va. If you've got those boosters up and you see somebody low that Lastro has put a shuriken or a kunai, excuse me, into their head. I'm thinking of Genji, cheers. But then, yeah, or Kai has been able to try to soften up there with a shot. That's easy cleanup there for Dante to go after.
Straight up, we saw Checkmate switch to the Sombra here. So it's like as soon as the Mayhem snips his D.Va out, they say, okay, Sombra, we really want to disrupt Dante. We want to make it hard to be everywhere at once. Merit's been spotted here. Now going to suffer a bit of pressure from this flanker. Kevster, wouldn't surprise me. Yep, Lastro, the Goon Squad, is off to work here. Respect Merit just a little bit, though. Of course, a very aggressive Kiriko style from Lastro. And look at the Gladiators now trying to encircle the Mayhem as they play this like very ground-born poke composition with Sigma.
Oh my god, it's like the sharks smell blood in the water and the Gladiators have assembled to try to do that. All the while, you know, Mayhem are starting to make some card progress, but it's really just someone right now that's going to be on the card as Merit just got kept busy.
Sigma's been able to make some progress, right, for someone. Pretty hard to shift. Another tank coming out from the Florida Mayhem's arsenal. A little bit of a different look from them once more. But again, at some point, the Glads have to commit. It'll be Dante with the nano boost here. And look at them trying to pressure the Sigma down. The pulse bomb's good, but someone gets nanoed. Top back up pretty much straight away. Dealing with this Sigma is going to be a key part of the strategy here. The Glads haven't quite figured it out yet.
That Dante, the D.Va is starting to get hacked. It's going to be a little bit harder here for Dante to keep up in these fights, especially when the rest of the Florida Mayhem's composition has a lot of card presence.
Dante's still alive though, look at that. They've been able to keep the D.Va in the fight for now. Dante, Bio, Kitsune Rush thrown down here for Lastro just to make sure probably the healing uptime is improved. Checkmate's thinking about it, thinking about that card. And yep, Kai got to drop down there to contest. Everybody very aware on the Gladiators here. They don't want to let what they did to the Mayhem happen to them. And eventually Florida get clear, but Rose, it's a really drawn out fight.
Someone was able to push the cart pretty far, but I mean, at this point, you're just asking for ultimates to be thrown at this one.
Kai has that infra sight here. Again, spending much of his time trying to deal with the Sigma, I dare say, Merit rather, as well. Having an infra sight, and they catch Kai. Checkmate able to find his second kill on the fight, and Bubble just drops straight into the crosshairs of Merit. Now it's up to Kevster to try and slow this thing down, but he's not playing the card. He's trying to deal with the Widowmaker in the backline here, and in the meantime, the Florida Mayhem are paving their own way with that first checkpoint.
Okay. I was just waiting for it to. Merit's so patient, just waiting for Kevster to be out of blinks and then just pops him in the head. Before switching over to Tracer also, I think the Widowmaker is going to stop having a lot of impact on this particular point. just because you have Kai switching over to the Hanzo as well. So Florida Mayhem are spotting an opportunity to switch over to the dive. Now that they've started to get some momentum and wind in their sails, this is going to be a good look for them too. Hopefully they can capitalize on this a little bit better than what happened on Hollywood.
Those long sight lines, think of the past now as we move into the second phase of this map. It's all about the dive here. Again, Kai going to be the point of difference playing that Hanzo, but it will be the object of scrutiny. And this time, not a thing of Bubble to do, but look on in dismay as his Hanzo is plucked from the mix. Someone going to dive on in and sleep it off. He's definitely reached his caloric goal of the day. Bubble trying to get his step count up, apparently. Going to be able to back away, but the Mayhem have created a lot of space here. 3 players on the car, and the Mayhem are motoring.
Oh, look at that. I mean, just for the dive, you got the anti-dive now coming up here as Lastro switches over to the Brigitte from the Kiriko, and Dante's actually going to go back over to the Diva.
Okay, curious to see how this plays out. Maybe an extra layer of support for Kai. Definitely seems to need more than just the healing he's been getting so far. Lastro, raid boss mode on the car. No one really coming to give him an audience. Forced to move off of it now, but that's sticky. Yep, that's going to hurt. Merritt able to find his target there. Notice that he and Checkmate have swapped roles here. Merritt on the Tracer coming off the Widow, just because he, I guess, just because that was what Checkmate was on at the start of the round here. But here's someone with the Primal Rage. He's here to finish the job. Janitorial exploit successful. The Mayhem are in the last phase of the map with 3 minutes 23 to go.
Okay, so pretty quick take here from Florida after they needed to get their engines moving just a little bit on that first point, but now it seems like they've gotten into a groove where Checkmate's going to have another EMP coming up soon. Trolling's got the rally, so that's a great way to sustain to be able to get that ultimate online, and it's going to be happening right about the time that the car's going to start rounding this corner. Unless Checkmate's able to just get an easy pick here, Kai looking to be another key target that the Florida Mayhem want to try to take down here.
Checkmate's, yeah, they're deliberating, right? Who are we going for here? Checkmate hacks Kai. I mean, again, rolling the dice, standing in Hanzo's purview. Someone trying to relive the pod comp from the first phase of the map, apparently. Kai will be eventually released back into the wild here to play from this high ground. Does know RuPaul's playing back in the corner, but has no mechanism to dig him out of there. So again, the Florida Mayhem will try and set up for a dive once more.
Florida Mayhem actually have the EMP online now too, along with 3 other ultimates at their disposal. So this dive may be even better, and they've gotten even more progress on the card.
Checkmate got disrupted there. Someone dives in, but there's no EMP to follow it up. There's no Sombra presence, best we can tell. So they might have to reset on this. They give someone the nano boost to make sure he stays alive as the retaliatory damage came in thick and fast. And Dante is in the middle of this right now. Nano boost on him, trying to pressure the stairs, maybe body block the rest of the Mayhem. But can the Gladiators capitalize here? Chepster comes straight through. Checkmate's EMP is good, but Chorong and RuPaul already had fallen by the wayside. The defender's now given some room to breathe. Someone had nowhere to go, and that EMP got used. Checkmate used the dive component there, but the Mayhem were out of sync.
Yeah, I mean, you called it out. Someone tried to go in with the Primal Rage, got the Nano on top of that, and no EMP to be able to help open up that fight. And when it did get used, we saw Dante actually hard-pocketed, so he didn't even get demeched there. And now the Florida Mayhem switched roles, so now Merritt's going to take up the helm of the Sombra.
Yeah. I think that's what they always wanted. I think just because Checkmate was already on the Sombra, they didn't want to lose ult charge after that first point. This is definitely much more of a standard setup for them here. Someone does have that primal up, so it's like he dived in without it in that previous fight, oddly enough. Maybe just didn't have it available at the time. We have the Ash switch from Kai, and we saw him finding some value just previously with that Dynamite. A Bob here could prove very disruptive if he can build into it quickly enough, and the Mayhem have been slowed down significantly here. Presumably still want to dive Kai, but how do they get to it? The coach gun, like you talked about before, makes it that much harder.
Yeah, the Kai is going to be so difficult to dive now, and that's one of the reasons why this Ash pick has been so good here for the Gladiators. What? Kevster?
I'm sorry. Yeah, don't know how we found Chorong there. Huge stick, though. And that's all you really need in a fight like this. Chorong quickly going down here. Florida, no options to keep the Brig alive. No nano boost available. And this is good for the Gladiators. They're slowing the pace down. And this Diva pick is also working out.
It's been so good here. Dante with the defense matrix has been able to keep the backline up, as well as also stop a lot of the healing coming through for RuPaul. I mean, it's been really tough here for someone to get any headway here, but here's the Nano.
He's going for it. Yeah, someone presumably getting nanoed in just a moment. Lastro going to be the beneficiary for the side of the Gladiators here. Someone went for the dive, it didn't work out. He got forced away. Dante actually intercepted someone mid-air. Made it hard for him to reach his intended target, but Lastro might be onto something here. wants to push in the direction of Merit, but starting to run out of durability, health, and shield-wise. And Merit eventually brings him down. They avoid the threat of the Brig until they're ready to go in for the kill. Now in overtime, the Mayhem have got to figure it out. Merit gets that key kill. Dante able to remake here. There is a bomb online. Merit needs to set up a dive here. The Mayhem need to get their ducks in a row.
Merit is going to have to get this EMP online. Maybe it's going to be Checkmate buying some time with the Blade, but you're also looking to pair that with the EMP, so you've got to be able to do something here.
Zen?
Sure.
Yes, my thoughts exactly. In exactly that order. Someone goes down early. That's not good. It's going to have to be a Dragon Blade, but hold the card. Checkmate, please. Oh, man.
They just
Kai.
off the cart.
Yeah, the Bob is a big problem for that composition. Kai able to finish off someone there. And again, the Blade from Checkmate, it's, I mean, at best, Rose, it's speculative at that point in the round. The Gladiators come up with the antidote to this Florida dive.
But you have a Winston bubble. Bubble the Bob.
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know if that really worked out. Yeah.
You know, we called out the Sombra switch, and obviously I think Merit would like to have had that pick a little bit earlier from Checkmate. But this was the problem that I thought Florida would run into, is that they just wouldn't have enough time with doing that switch with 1 minute and 15 seconds left to actually get the EMP online when they would have wanted it to be there before Gladiators get a full slate of ults.
Kevster. Oh man. 7-2. So pretty nice scoreline there, but key that all 3 pulse bombs, or at least the last 3 pulse bombs we saw from Kevster, all attached. All got kills. So he was, I mean, that stick on Chorong, very, very hard to even conceive about how he managed to make that stick. And Kai did not have to do much. He's 2-4. He actually didn't have to do much. He was a beacon for the Florida Mayhem. But the defensive concave that the Glads are able to set up around Kai to put someone in awkward positions worked out perfectly. Chorong also has 5 deaths. A Brig, by the way, 5 deaths, most on your team here. So really tough for Chorong, who's usually very survivable and very robust. He's having a tough time staying alive here. And we have the Zen on attack. I like Houston Outlaws. Lastro jealous of his old teammates, so now he's going to go for it.
Lastro with such big energy here. I'm here for it, honestly. I would love to see how this also plays a role in the Gladiators being able to just have such a strong, aggressive dive. This might make it even harder for RuPaul and Chorong to stay up, knowing that you've got the pressure here from the Discord Orb, as well as Dante once again on the Diva, just to be able to help shark things down.
Again, this Ramattra comp is kind of slow in many ways. So we've seen Houston specifically, but now the Glads try the Zen against it. The pressure down at Ramattra make it hard to be durable in that front line. There's a looming threat of Merit, but Merit's kind of busy playing whack-a-mole with Kevster right now. Kai, though, is able to strike true. Checkmate falls. That's brutal.
Oh, that's going to be really rough here. Now you don't have Checkmate to try to keep Kevster in check. Merit might go down here. RuPaul as well is just stuck behind the point.
Kevster does not let go. This guy, absolute vendetta here. Getting pressured a little bit now. Merit, obviously, you see across the map, able to find bubbles, so that will definitely slow the Gladiators down now. It's a pretty defensive poke composition set up by the Mayhem. Eventually, someone is able to deal with Kevster, so the Glads are going to have to come up with something a little bit more lethal.
But look at how far they got the cart. That's exactly what they wanted with the way that they played that game. I don't think Kai, barely got out of there with his life. Look at that quick thinking from Dante there with the defense matrix. Now you get to give some healing over to Lastro for all charge. And yeah, with where the cart is now and how much progress the Gladiators were able to make, this is exactly what they wanted. They now have the ability to go dive up on Merit. They just have to wait out the sights first.
Merit is so far ahead of Kai with that infra sight here, so Kai cannot mirror and cannot match this information game that Merit has been able to get. Annihilation over on the cart here. Merit able to use the infra sight to win the Widow duel, and the fight is basically done there and then. Minute 44 left in the round. Florida hoping to stay alive in this series here.
Oh, okay. I mean, Zen can kick, but I don't... Ram can punch. I don't...
They gave him a ranged component to his punches too, you know what I mean? That's messed up.
Let Zen have that range. Let Zen kick and block. Hello?
Is Zen not Chun-Li, for God's sake? Oh,
you don't know that?
I mean, I've checked out the quads. I've made the comparison. Yeah, I'm pretty convinced.
Okay. I guess that if the measurements don't add up there, then the match doesn't add that up. But
Far from convinced that he should be long-range kick. Oh my goodness, that is not right. It's not okay. Somehow, I guess the Mayhem gets sort of baited into that room and just get taken down. You got to admit, Kai's positioning there is pretty off the wall, so to speak, but they're able to group the Mayhem up there and just tear them to shreds. So the Gladiators, after struggling to come up with an answer here on this first stage, they're off and going.
But that's just it. Even though Kai's positioning might have been a little bit wacko, that's exactly what the Gladiators have been bringing to this match this entire time, is something kind of off the wall in terms of strategy that has really been taking the Florida Mayhem by surprise. Whether it's been the Ash pick, whether it's been maybe some of the positioning choices. Kai has just been mega bait for the Mayhem, and they're falling for it. Hook, line, and sinker.
So merit on that Hanzo, that league-beating Hanzo for him, gets absolutely walloped by Kai, again with the advantage of the infra sight. As those ultimates would have been out of sync either way, I think even if Merit had not switched. The Gladiators leveraging that extra information to get a key kill, take the core of the damage away from the Mayhem, and now they're in trouble. Kai has a safe sightline here, and it's going to draw a rally out of Chorong. Here's an EMP now, and Mayhem trying to get back into this fight, but they've lost their Ana already, and Checkmate doesn't have the follow-up here. Lastro going to fend for himself for the time being. Here comes the cavalry. Someone has to get his hands dirty, but eventually Kevs is going to crack back at him here, and Dante's been healthy on the card this entire time. Lastro now starting to stretch his legs, and it's looking good for the Glads. Heading into this last phase of the map right now with more than 2 minutes, Florida have got to be nervous.
I mean, I think what's been amazing about the Gladiators' push is that you have the Zenyatta Transcendence most of the time to be able to deal with something like an EMP from Checkmate. That's just the best supportive response that you can have. But the Nano's been able to do it well enough. Babel just giving Lastro that Nano boost, allowing him to go a little bit ham after he's been able to stay up. And Florida Mayhem making yet another change. They're relying on Checkmate's Genji now to be able to go get the job done in the backline.
Something that we'd like from the Florida Mayhem on defense, playing dive comps with that was decisive and they went first. Playing a Diva here and not the Winston, so a little bit hard, I guess, to set up your dives in that way. Someone obviously a bit more defensively oriented on this pick. That's the Transcendence the Gladiators were very glad to have here. Lastro able to get that off just in time. Checkmate got a nano boost, does not have a Dragon Blade though. Awkward now, of course, as Checkmate looks like they're entrenched here above the setup here for the Glads. But that deflect has been forced, and that cart is still moving.
Gosh, it's going to be so close to that final destination. Gladiators at this point are one fight away from being able to move forward in the upper bracket.
Dante, look at that. Perfect response again. Comes back into the defense matrix. Yes, disrupted by Merit on the way through, but is able to keep Lastro alive. Checkmate's been caught out of the fight for all this time, and he's not going to have a nano for this blade. It's going to have to be just the Dragon Blade and nothing else for him. An EMP to set that up could be a difference maker here. The Gladiators are encroaching. They're so close now. But Dante opts to take the high ground, and Lastro's going to be under pressure. What more? The kick? Maybe he is Chun-Li. Goodness, Merit disintegrates under that kind of pressure. And Kai, with all the defensive architecture he could hope for, was able to deal 2 swift kills. And now the Gladiators, they can smell it. They're so close, and that card is getting over the line. The Mayhem blown out. Everyone expecting them to look the better team, but the Gladiators, they've been cooking something up in the break.
Well, what they're cooking, I'm eating. That was phenomenal to watch there from the Gladiators. I expected a 3-0, but it absolutely was not for the Gladiators taking this. But they earned that win. They earned every single team fight that they were able to get there. I'm super impressed.
So I come out of this match with a very different perspective and view on the Mayhem as I thought I would. I really thought they had a very solid identity in terms of that Winston-based dive composition, especially with Merit being able to play Sombra, maybe some of the Hanzo at times. We saw a very different series with maybe a lot more variation in comps than we expected. Some Sigma composition there, obviously plenty of Ramatra, but the Gladiators went out in the Ramatra setups and their dive looks pretty squeaky clean as well. Kai attracts so much attention and his backline keeps him alive long enough for the Gladiators to strike back in response and end up winning a lot of these team fights. Pretty incredible series, and I think stonks for the Gladiators definitely had to be rising because they've demonstrated a heck of a lot of versatility here.
They really did, and I think that was the thing that really allowed them to be able to take this match, is the fact that they brought a surprise factor. Whether it was Kai staying in as just this major bait that the Florida Mayhem were able to take, I mean, I think that just spoke volumes and really gave Kevster, our player of the match, space to operate in.
Yeah, I mean, listen, sometimes you see our top tracer players, they have good days, sometimes they have great ones, and it's the latter for Kevster here. Absolutely on point. The pulse bomb sticks have been incredible, but so much of the time, we're like watching a dive tank, and then we just see Kevster appear on the scoreboard with like 2 kills, really making a big difference, especially in these fights that the Mayhem are diving first on defense a lot of the time, and the Gladiators are able to buy enough time for Kevster to do his very best work. This is genuine bona fide solo tracer play in a lot of these occasions, while you know, they have Kai sort of being protected by the rest of the team here. I mean, such a high volume of fights in this series, and Kevster with only 1.6 deaths per 10. Yeah. Yeah, and that's over the course of the whole series. I reckon on Junkertown it was higher than that, but ridiculous showing here from Kevster.
Yeah, it's amazing, especially knowing that Kevster was underperforming at the start of the season. It looked like he was having a really tough time trying to find his own on this tracer and was getting outclassed by a couple of the other tracers that we had in the West. So it really feels like he's back in top form, and the way he was able to keep the back line of the Florida Mayhem occupied was a great way for the Gladiators to find success today.
Glad's advancing, but the Florida Mayhem have been unleashed on the lower bracket now with a score to settle, I'd say. So that's definitely a team to be looking out for in the salty run back. We're going to cut to break, everybody. When we come back, we're going to have our panel of experts break down that match and get you ready for our last game of the day.
Welcome back, everyone, to Watchpoint. Zoe here, joined by Danny, by Jake, by Johnny, and we are about to break down something which we definitely did not
We were just here.
predict.
Let's go Gladiators! Yeah, I was right.
We've literally just been here. Gladiators, Gladiators looking extremely good.
Yeah.
Versus Mayhem and crumbling at every corner and in between as well. Let's break it down. Let's talk about what happened there, what went wrong for the Gladiator, for the Mayhem, and what went right for the Gladiators.
I mean, it's a good question.
Yeah.
You pointed us out in the green room as well, just like this switch. Get Kevster off May, I said. Get Kevster off May. And they did by putting Yaki.
Delivered on the
by
stove.
putting Yaki on May. That was just like a great start. It was like, oh, I'm so happy with this. This makes me feel way better about the Gladiators moving into this series. So really a first good look for them here, Jake.
Yeah, and the Soj is really a nice soft counter to this like more of a Reaper style. You're so good at slipping away. And honestly, I thought Kai on the defense on this map, okay, I knew he'd play well, but I thought the offense would be too hard for them. I think once they won this attack and those Sombra dives weren't able to connect well enough, honestly, it was kind of a weird attack round, but on a Kevster, just so many times with these pole spawns. Kevster went to a different level today. This is a vintage Kevster game. Just pulse bomb on pulse bomb. It felt like he was distracting the enemy 24/7, and by the time you think you're gonna kill him, he's finished charging the pulse bomb and he sticks your Ana. It's just deadly.
I think Gladiators, I think they just perform better when they're under pressure. Like when things matter for them, they just all of a sudden show up. Like they did that for Pro-Am, right? And then now again, like in the knockout stage, they're just all of a sudden, you know what?
The playoff team?
It's like
Is it happening?
everything matters now. All right, let's turn it on. Let's go. And
Is Kevster Jimmy Butler? Oh, that might be a stretch. Sorry.
Sure, why not? Why not? Let's run with this narrative. Now, Florida, of course, will play San Francisco Shock tomorrow at 12 p.m. Pacific. Now, Gladiators are going to play the winner of our last match today, which is going to be Washington and Boston Uprising. That's our second winner bracket match, which has to be played out. Yeah, so still some good place to go until we find out who is going to get those 2 tickets to Seoul, Korea. Danny's getting ready for a winner's interview. Run, do it. Get your wrench ready.
Turn.
Oh, I'm involved in this. Okay.
All right. Thank you.
That was so unnecessary.
I started squeaking. I just, you know.
All right, everybody, we got Babel from Los Angeles Gladiators for the post-match interview. Babel, congratulations on getting the win. Now, I do have to say, I think the very last match we saw from Gladiators was against the Washington Justice, and you guys, it was a loss, and you guys looked a bit shaky. But today, against Florida Mayhem, it was like a total different team. So, what changed for you guys? 자, 일단 오늘 승리 축하드리면서 제일 마지막으로 저희 글래디 경기를 본 게 이제 워싱턴전이었는데 그때 좀 아슬아슬했어요. 솔직히 말해서 경기 내내. 그러다가 오늘 플로리다전에서 굉장히 좋은 모습으로 경기를 끝을 마쳤는데 좀 뭐가 좀 변했나요? 그 짧은 기간 동안.
저희가 워싱턴전 이후로 부족했던 점을 빨리 보완해서 오늘 3대 0이라는 좋은 성적 거둘 수 있었던 것 같아요.
Right. I mean, I think it's, there were things that definitely that we lacked as a team, and I think we were quick enough to turn that around, and I think that's how we got the win. Would it be okay for me to ask you what those, those minor mistakes or things that you had to correct were? 방금 이제 뭐 조그만 뭐 이것저것 좀 고쳐야 된다고 말씀을 하셨는데 그 고친 점들 중에 뭐 한 가지만 좀 말씀해 줄 수 있을까요? 뭐였는지?
저희가 행동을 할 때 뭔가 좀 근거를 좀 더 잘 찾고 행동하는 거 그런 걸 대표적으로 고친 것 같아요.
I think one of the things that we had to fix was I think finding a reason to act instead of just acting right away, finding a reason for us to make the movement, and I think that was one of the key factors that we sort of had to fix, and that really came into play for today against the Florida Mayhem. Thank you so much for that. 방금 말씀해 주셔서 너무 감사드리면서 you guys actually have one more match, and after that, you guys, if you guys win the next match, you guys are going to Korea, and it's going to be, you guys will be playing against Boston or Washington. Who do you think is going to win, and who do you think is going to be your opponent tomorrow? 자, 이제 한 경기만 남았습니다, 바벨 선수. 이제 다음 경기만 이기면 한국으로 미드 시즌으로 가시게 되시는데 보스턴이랑 워싱턴 둘 중에 어떤 팀이 이겨서 내일 글래디와 경기를 하실 것 같으신가요?
저는 제 생각엔 누가 올라올지는 솔직히 모르겠는데 저희가 그냥 이길 수 있을 것 같아요.
Alright. I don't really know who's gonna win, but whoever it is, I'm pretty sure we are going to get the win and go to Korea. Alright, but well, that is it for the interview. Thank you so much, and again, big congratulations on the win. 자, 승리 축하드리면서 보여드리도록 하겠습니다. 감사합니다.
감사합니다. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Danny. Yeah. But are you okay? Let me hold this for you.
Did you forget how chairs work?
Oh?
You gotta
We're
tighten up
working
some
on it.
bolts on that before you.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, got it. Sorry, guys.
Tools ready.
Okay.
Big shout out to Angie again for all the novelty pens. Has someone realized that you're having a different pen in every session?
You shouldn't have said it. Why would you say that?
Never mind.
I think someone
Look at
realized.
that roster, though. Yeah, that's right. We are looking at the Washington Justice. They are going up against the Boston Uprising, and we had a lot of good things to say about their DPS lineup. However, they are going up against the greats of greats. DK, Birdring, of course, they have a deadly support line there as well. Lee Jae-gun, Izayaki is back in the mix as well.
And Smurf, you didn't mention Smurf.
I was just getting
And Birdring,
okay?
and Birdring.
I already said that.
Smurf!
Did you listen to Smurf? All right, Smurf head. Let's talk about these two teams. Specifically, there is a PSA which needs to be said before we move on.
Yeah.
Jonathan, please.
I'd just like to clear up some slander.
Yeah.
Recently, there's been some slander on the internet. There have been some questions coming into play. And I'd just like it to be said that Lee Jae-gun is an absolute Chad gamer, all right? And I won't take any slander about Lee Jae-gun's ability to play in this game. Oh, he's too aggressive. Oh, he dives too much. Oh, he's too YOLO, you know, in the backline and stuff. Look at his Brig stats. Lee Jae-gun's Brig stats in the spring qualifiers. He's second in all categories. Look at this game. Yeah, he dies maybe 7th most, you know, he's a bit aggressive. But second in hero damage, healing done, tunnel blows. Time and time again, he comes up clutch. You know, he does get the Ana pocket from Twilight, and, you know, that's only an added bonus, especially with the Brig buff, with the IMAX shield. But Lee Jae-gun is a certified gamer, so I won't take any slander about him feeding occasionally, diving in too hard,
Is that on Lucio?
throwing his team on the buff. He's great at the game, all right? He's great at the game.
Just an occasional feed.
Nothing
People
wrong
are
with a
hungry.
little
Let them eat.
Fertilize the ground.
It's worth it. It's worth it.
The ground.
Two things. Here's the
Your
face
dead
of
body.
someone who's about to slander Lee Jae-gun. I love that. Also, his face in that picture, like, he's disappointed. Have you noticed that? Can we show that graphic
Disappointed
again?
Papa.
He actually looks so disappointed in all of us. And
How dare you tell
look
me
at
about
him.
Bush?
I can't believe you guys.
No,
dare
it's a
you.
bit of a, come on.
He's like, what did you say?
You say what?
What?
You what?
What?
You what,
What,
mate?
you want some?
I'm not gonna.
I don't want,
I have
yeah.
nothing negative to say ever again about Lee Jae-gun.
I love these.
You know, I like
Same,
that he's a
actually.
fellow member of the Real Name Users Club.
That's a good club.
Lee Jae-gun, you know,
Yeah.
I'm a fan. I'm a fan. I think he's an aggressive player, but
Jake.
that works with Boston's style.
Jacob.
It works
How
with
exotic.
Boston's style. You know, I think it's.
Jacob.
You're a fellow member.
Technically,
Almost.
no, actually.
Hello, are you
Zoe's
my
not my
last
real name. Fun fact.
Danny Lim Lim.
Danny
I'm a
Lim
fan
Lim.
of the Real Name Club, guys.
Okay,
Dante, I think, is an
Where are we
honorary
going
member.
with this?
therefore, I'm gonna be Salome
Obviously.
Katinka.
Where are we
I'm
going?
drawing meaningless correlations among players.
Now, let's talk about the game, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Washington, Boston, Washington.
Dive versus rush. Boston's better dive team. Washington's better rush team. They're both going to pick maps. They let them play their strength. The question is, who's going to win the control maps? Who's going to win the push maps? There's some maps where you can't really, even if you get the map pick, you don't necessarily get to play your style. New York forced it on New Queen Street. Maybe we'll see a little bit of that. And I think Washington is a flexible team. Boston, they're flexible. They can play each other's strengths, so I wouldn't be shocked to see them take the mirrors. But I do feel that that's sort of the overall spirit of this series is who can force more, can Boston force more dives? Can Washington force these close quarters rush engagements? Who can force their will in the game?
Now, if we're looking at the predictions for this one, I feel like you can make a lot of arguments for either of those teams. Again, it will come down, as you said, to a clash of styles. Therefore, it's very map specific. We don't know what maps are coming our way. Therefore, predictions for this one a little bit more tricky, I feel, than most of the matches we saw today. I went with Boston Uprising. I think if they can show us, if they can show good team cohesion, which I know they can, then they should be winning that. Even though Washington Justice obviously has a very deadly DPS lineup, but if Alpha Yi doesn't show up,
Sorry.
then it's gonna be rough. I feel like a lot of it is gonna ride on Alpha Yi popping off. And if he won, then I give it to Boston.
Boston. What was my score?
Boston.
I forgot. What am I? 3-1. Yes. Washington Justice. They got scary DPS. Boston got scary DPS and tank and support.
Scary everything.
Scary everything.
Yeah.
Scary logo.
Yeah, a little bit. In what way?
That's menacing. Yeah, I can see that.
But yeah, I had to go with the Boston Uprising too. I think they're the favorites in the series. I think they've got the flexibility. I think they'll be able to force their will on the game, play a lot of dive style, and maybe they've practiced enough to bring it out on these rush comps. And I agree. I think rush is maybe Washington's best advantage here, and AlphaGee is going to be on the Mei, not really the carry role that we want to see him on. I don't think he's going to be able to play the Genji as much as heroes that we really get excited about to see AlphaGee. So I'm not sure this is going to be the match for him to succeed, but I still think they're a threat long term.
I'm going with Boston as well in this one. There are two noteworthy things in this one, though. First of all, these teams did play, I believe it was in week 2 or so, and Boston did win 3-0. And second of all, as much as AlphaGee has been great this season, this would be like the kingmaker game, where like if AlphaGee is the difference maker and beats down Decay in this matchup and wins it for Washington, that would be an insane, like, just pop-off moment for him. So.
But can he really beat down Decay? I mean, go even.
I'd be down. I'd be down to see it. I'd be down to see it.
Decay, I agree. He's like the GOAT of all time.
Is this going to be the loss which is going to start the boomage of Boston for you? Or
are we still pushing them?
This would hurt them. This would hurt them. But honestly, I'm ready to be proven wrong. I think the question for Boston is this match should be one of the easier ones for them, frankly. I think the real challenge is to take on probably the Floridas and the LA Gladiators, the two teams I would consider right now maybe being the favorites. Boston maybe the third of that category, the favorites to go to Korea. I think making it or not making it to the Mid-Season Madness in Korea is going to be a big moment for this team. So they have high expectations.
Yeah, and I mean, the good thing for both of those teams is, of course, that they're not playing with their backs against the wall. They do have a second chance in case they are going to lose this one. They will just drop down to the lower bracket and then play for all the marbles. Now, however, we are ready for this last match of the day. And once again, we're going to send it over to the ever so handsome and beautiful Nekra and Mitch.
Nuber.
It's stuck, hasn't it? It's indelible at this point. My goodness. Well, don't worry. We're not gonna let a rough name hold us back, Rose. Don't worry about that. We can always exceed the reputation that's been ascribed to us at the outset. But when we talk about reputation, these two teams have it in spades. I think one of the things that you and I are most excited about is seeing these front lines clash, and the desk has already sort of started that narrative, right? Is this AlphaGee going absolutely mental and sort of dominating, or is this tried and true veteran squad that looks so good in the dive meta, Boston, going to be too good for them?
Oh, did you see how relaxed Mirror looked? Getting the shoulder rub. He's not sweating right now. And I think that he has a reason to at the moment, just knowing how well Washington Justice did in their last matchup. They did just beat the Gladiators 3-0 that just beat the Mayhem 3-0. So,
right. Transitive property. I like that. I like that. But you know what? The most I guess standout part of this Justice roster was a player that we rarely talk about, I feel like, especially the one that when you sat next to AlphaGee, but Flora had an incredible series. We're seeing a player now who was really hyped up to be this young gun, looking to step into the shoes of giants in previous teams like, New York. Flora was incredible, especially on that Hanzo in that previous game. So one for me to watch here. If he can continue this trend, then the Justice are truly a force to be reckoned with.
Absolutely. I love that you brought that up because, it's the Hanzo for some of those more long-range maps, but when we're heading over to Antarctic Peninsula as our very first one, makes a lot of sense that Flora may try to come out of the gates here on the Sombra. Looks like both teams kind of poised to come out with the dive. And this is where I start to have some questions, We talk about Smurf all the time being one of those Winstons in the upper echelon of Winston players in the Overwatch League, and Mirror himself had said that his Winston's not the best. So this is going to be a huge litmus test here for Washington to see if they can go toe-to-toe with Boston's dive.
I mean, I'm surprised they come out of the gates not on a rush comp, right? This is the kind of map that your sub-level's the kind of map that definitely allows for that. Perhaps the Justice are anticipating a dive comp, don't want to have to play rush into it, but they're coming out with, Mirror on the Winston. Normally, Van Best comes in to sort of fill that role for this team. Let's see how it pans out, though, because Birdwing and Decay have been every bit the dynamic duo that they were suspected to be, and I'm still waiting on this Boston boomage. Hasn't happened yet, but Flora struck blood first. It's Decay falling.
Digon's gonna get so low here too.
Okay, well, the DPS of the Justice that we kind of hyped up have already gotten to work here. Alpha Yi barely escapes getting taken down now by the Tracer, recall it 2 health. But it's all been about the Washington Justice to start this off, and Flora opening the account on someone like Decay is huge. Alpha Yi getting to play the Tracer and not the May, you can see why the Justice make this switch.
Yeah, I mean, what a Giga Chad move, though, right? By Alpha, you just kind of going forward, trying to dome Smurf and then get back to the team. Unfortunately, gets punished for it, but you absolutely need to start thinking about how to adapt to this if you're Boston. You can't just keep getting hacked here, as Decay is also going to be on the receiving end of that one, and Teru under a little bit of fire, but really looking at how Boston Uprising are going to counter the dive.
But the latest episode of Demon Slayer, Hagenezuka is just like, you know, sharpening the sword while the demons attacking him and just so focused on doing that. That is what Terry looks like to me right now. He had FD God throwing packs at him and he just ignored him for the time being. But eventually Boston start to assert themselves a little bit more effectively, right? It's going to be a tough one here for Alpha Yi. He's definitely playing from the back foot. Boston eventually get themselves sorted for this dive.
Okay, so Boston gonna go ahead and take back control of the point, but it's now down to EMP versus EMP. So Boston Uprising, they want to try to take control of this high ground and look for an opportunity to get Birdring in position to get this EMP online before Washington do. But, oh, Washington strike first.
Yeah, that EMP that Flora has been sort of diligently building up over the course of this round. Most teams often try to target a backliner with that, right? But Decay looks like he got caught in the crossfire, and Alpha was ready to catch him. Sleep Dart again coming out. Nicely done by Teru. It's the second time he's intercepted, Izayaki. The second time he's managed to intercept Alpha Yi getting into the backline. Still for Boston, they maintain control of the point despite losing Decay earlier. It begs the question, maybe the Tracer wasn't the primary target.
I don't think that was the right target at all. I mean, yeah, sure, you got a huge source of damage off the board in Decay, but then you ended up leaving the backline alive to be able to keep Smurf up. Now you've got the Primal you're gonna have to contest with, and such a huge ultimate from the Justice is off the table. Boston also still kept control of the point. This is devastating here for Washington.
Keeping Izayaki alive. Name of the game, just as Teru also was being tended to. FD got popped the rally. Both freaks went for it at that moment, in fact. As the Arnolds were feeling the pressure on both sides of the field, it's going to be Izayaki falling first, though, and an opening here for the Washington Justice to exploit the heal gap they have access to. But the Boston Uprising haven't been shifted from the point yet. Smurf is just determinedly standing his ground, and will have a Primal Rage to use in moments. He uses it right now here. Mira looks like he was looking for Birdring, who doesn't have an escape mechanism. Eventually gets caught and blasted over the walls.
Looks like you're going to end up seeing the Primal Rage used there to be able to stall for as much time as possible, as Smurf's able to land back down and...
He still got it!
Maybe not even just a stall.
What? Boston still have the point. That is absurd. Izayaki back in the fight here. Looks like he's ready to roll, but Smurf couldn't be tended to quickly enough. It's going to be Decay striking with the pulse bomb. The Legion God is living on the edge. And eventually Alpha is able to circumvent the shield and bring him down. And bring the Justice with a chance to take this round away, but they've got to win it all from here.
Could you have imagined, like, the Primal Rage coming out and then Birdring actually getting the EMP online for that one? Boston could have just potentially taken the round right then and there.
Oh,
but now...
Flora, please don't do this to me. Come on.
It's not Rialto. What are you doing? Can't go over there. Oh, listen, he still... He had the reflex.
Yeah, good on him. Best guess who is where he actually needs to be, though. Birdring. That's an EMP go, Smurf. It's an easy pickup on Mirror there. Izayaki is looking for some targets to heal up here. Been able to stave off most of this scrutiny via flankers for this round, and now he's set up nice and nestled here to give Smurf all the support that he might need. It's going to be a nano boost deployed over towards the Winston, forcing the rally from FD God. An EMP coming in after the fact that Alpha is able to fight Izayaki once more. This is good for the Justice. They're hanging on. What a key fight win at a crucial point in the round.
There's not much that Boston Uprising can come back into this one with either. It's going to be on raw kills as Decay is looking to try to get back here on the Tracer.
He's got to get there fast. It's just Smurf, and he's barely hanging on. Lee Jae-gon gets the rally. Smurf needs to top up. Quick, smart. Lee Jae-gon, the one stalling the point for the time being. The rest of the Uprising need to be in position, and enough time has been bought for them to get here. Pressure on Teru. Birdring trying to, again, consume as much of his armor's attention as possible, but Decay is here and on the scene. Alpha is under a lot of pressure now, forced to try and blink away, but Mirror's Primal Rage is yielded to kill on Izayaki. Both teams lose their armors. It's all Briggs. It's all health packs for the time being, and Decay does not have the recall here. Trying to get topped up. Going to be Pax in the pulse bomb, but Flora is going to bring him down just in time. It's Lee Jae-gon now gone. No healers for the Boston Uprising. no chance to take the round. The Justice make a 55-60% comeback here.
That's so impressive, especially knowing how much momentum Boston Uprising had generated with their ultimate control. I thought it was doomed for Washington until they were able to start to grab that control back. And now they look pretty good on the dive. Maybe not a look that we were expecting to see confidence from Mirror for, but he looks like he's vibing, he's feeling it right now, and that Winston doesn't look half bad. And now they get a chance to play the brawl.
Mirror's had a great round. 6 final blows, 3 deaths. Alpha, he gets 7 and 2 right now. Birdring not able to get on the board at all, and Decay with the paltry 3 final blows. So despite Boston being within a stone's throw of a round win, the Washington Justice really had the output in terms of kills, especially in that last fight. So the Justice now going to revert back to this rush style with Mirror, and Alpha E will be on the Reaper. So not the first team today to try and bring Reaper into these comps. Smurf had best be careful.
You absolutely should be careful about that one, because Winston's hitbox is huge, but I think Birdring needed to hear your advice first.
That should probably not happen. Birdring getting caught there deep behind enemy lines, apparently without a translocator. And, I mean, the Justice make the cursory response, right? They just speed boost in and secure that kill. Birdring switching to... Okay, it's the Sojourn.
What?
To the Sojourn here. Why are the most mobile heroes in the game for the Boston Uprising here seem to be getting called out? The Justice are dictating the tempo here.
Yeah, Justice is just gonna go up towards the spawn. I mean, even Birdring right now gonna get caught out there by a hack. Has to be able to back away. Boston Uprising, though, they're sticking to this dive composition despite the fact that Alfie has already been such a pain for them. You can't dive the Reaper. Who are you diving? Wait, who are you diving on the Justice?
Birdring is done with this summer. He's like, yo, give me that history. Decay, never heard of him. Yo, it's about me now, baby. Let's go.
The Uprising again. They want to leverage this Sombra, I guess, against the Reaper, right? Like, you really have him outranged, but the Justice aren't giving you this breathing room. We just saw the Gladiators work so hard for most of the series to give Kai the space and then the peel that he needed. I don't know if Decay or Birdring specifically is going to get that here with a dive comp.
I don't think he's going to get that here. I mean, you've got the Kiriko at least to be able to swift step to you to make sure that you can get that healing a little bit faster, but you also need to be able to help heal up Smurf. Smurf is about to get a Primal Rage online, but he's also hacked here. This is exactly the problem that the Boston Uprising are running into, is that Washington, they're just so quick to the punch.
There is Decay falling to a wayward punch from Mirror. Flora was waiting on the low ground, constantly disrupting Smurf, and then just plays out the EMP. This is not close at all. The Justice are really functioning. They're playing to their win conditions here, and the Uprising look all over the place. Yeah, we'll give Izzyaki credit there for that solo kunai kill, but it's going to take more than that.
Hey there. Well, hey, at least you got him down once. That's the raid boss taken out of here before he's able to get the Death Blossom online. But the Coalescence coming out here now. How do Boston Uprising stand up against this?